yeah, essentially alongside Shannon, talk about living and teaching in Wales. Obviously a part of the UK where we have other office locations, and we'll obviously talk a bit more about ANZUK UK and our global presence. But yeah, definitely for us, the idea is that we focus in on Wales, the amazing place where we can, yeah, talk about how you can live there, the setup, the process to make the journey onwards, and then once you're there in the UK and in Wales, what it's like to actually live there too, and all the things around that as well. So we're lucky that we've got Shannon online, which is great. So Shannon is joining us from our office in Newport in Wales. So yeah, really excited to talk about yeah, the amazing journey ahead for everyone on the call. So thanks for joining in. So just for us to start off, we'll just start off with an acknowledgement of country, us being here in Australia. I'm speaking from our Collingwood office in Melbourne. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Wurundjeri Wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation on which we are meeting today. We recognise their continuing connections to the lands, waters and skies, and we pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. So a little bit of an introduction. So I've already given a bit of a scoop of what we're going to be talking about today, which we'll cover a little bit more in a second. But my name is Tyler, and I'm the UK recruitment team leader. So essentially supporting educators from Australia, New Zealand and Canada and Ireland making their journey onwards to the UK. So I myself have been with ANZUK UK for about 5 years, and I've worked across our London and our Melbourne office. And I'm originally a PE teacher from Melbourne, and I lived in the UK from 2016 to 2020. My whole time in the UK, I didn't actually personally live in Wales. I did spend my time living in London. However, every time I went to Wales, it was one of my favourite destinations, which we'll talk about throughout this webinar alongside with Shannon. And yeah, definitely encourage everyone to really consider it as a journey, because everyone who I've spoken with who has lived there absolutely has an amazing experience over there too. It is a really beautiful part of the world. My experience living overseas was one of the best decisions I personally ever made. I loved when I was in the classroom over there, I learned a lot about myself as a teacher, and you know, living overseas, I learned a lot about myself as an individual. And yeah, really encourage everyone to make that journey over whenever it's the right time for you. So a bit of a fun fact, with my travels, my favorite country is Greece, and I've been lucky enough to travel over 50 countries too. So I spent a lot of time in the UK traveling. So yeah, was really lucky to do that, and yeah, really passionate about helping people making the journey onwards to the UK with ANZ UK and to Wales specifically. Shannon, you're in our Newport office. Say g'day to everyone and a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, so yeah, first of all, thanks for taking the time to learn about Wales. I'm very passionate about Wales. I used to live in the States, and I moved over here. So Wales was, we were sort of kind of researching and seeing where we could live. My mother grew up over here, so she was really passionate about Wales anyways. So we took the dive and completely uprooted our whole life and moved to Wales, which I think was the best decision. I had an amazing education, and obviously just living around. I have been in recruitment for over 5 years, but I've only just joined the ANZUK family just about 5 months ago. So I decided to join education mainly because my wife's a teacher and she absolutely loves teaching. And I think I want to help people from overseas or in Wales help find their permanent placement, and help them on their career. A little fun fact about me, I think I've run in most places in Wales just because I love running. It's like a sort of kind of a away moment for me. And I think probably my favorite country when I was traveling around the States was probably Maryland, which I absolutely loved. Not many people will say that. And many people I grew up with will probably be like, well, why did you say that? But yeah, just a little bit about me.
Perfect. And as we go throughout the webinar too, definitely encourage everyone to post within the chat any questions you have. We will have a lot of time for questions right at the end too, but obviously it's a nice, smaller, intimate group for us. I think we got about 6 or 7 on the line, which is great. So feel free to, we can at times probably pause a little bit throughout the webinar and ask questions off mic with our mic, with the microphone off mute. We've got that one out in the end. But yeah, definitely feel free just to yeah, post any questions into the chat. We do have a poll, and we will throw to some polls throughout the webinar, and we'll also post some links into the chat too. So please keep the chat box open, and then maybe open the tabs up, and you can save these and bookmark some of the resources that we'll share. Firstly though, would love to know where is everyone tuning in from. So if everyone just wanted to post into the chat, just like where you are at the moment. I know Cameron's up in Queensland at the minute. A lot sunnier than what it is in Melbourne. We're getting lots and lots of rain where we are. So nice. So we've got a couple Melburnians, Gray, Bianca, Trish, and Laura, and then Zoe, New South Wales too. So a huge part about ANZ UK is obviously supporting with work. That's obviously a core purpose of what we do. But we're very much a community and events-driven agency. So we want everyone to be able to meet other people who are journeying onwards to the UK and into Wales specifically. We know a lot of people are probably traveling by themselves, and we know not everyone may have a network in Wales or in the UK either. So we want to make sure you're welcome to events before you go to the UK, and then also when you get to the UK as well. So I know Shannon and the team recently welcomed probably about 10 or 11 overseas educators into the office, a bit of a day out, which we'll talk about. And yeah, we really want to encourage everyone to get amongst the people on the call, and then other people who you might not be able to meet yet through our Facebook group and other community events that we host as well. So what we'll cover this afternoon, obviously this morning for Shannon, but I know it's this evening for everyone on the call. So we'll give an intro to ANZ UK. We'll talk about some educators who've made the journey over to Wales, the why, the how, the where to live in Wales as well, what it's like to partner with ANZ UK. We'll touch on working in Welsh schools, the types of work available, some of the relocation bonuses that could be an offer if you're eligible through some of the work opportunities we promote. We'll touch on the visa and some compliance requirements as well. Setting up for life, so touching on opening a bank account, national insurance numbers, all those things which add to the list of things that are important to know when you're moving countries. And then we'll talk about the community and Facebook groups, which I've already just briefly mentioned. PD, some local knowledge straight from Shannon, who's obviously in our Wales office as well. And yeah, we will really promote questions across the webinar too. So we want to just get a bit of an introduction to ANZ UK as a whole. So we are a global business, and we've got 29 offices across the world where we can support educators with casual, contract and permanent opportunities. Where everyone on the call is eligible to work would be obviously in Australia. Everyone currently living in Oz. We have 9 offices across Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, ACT and Perth. So if you are thinking that you've got a bit of a gap in terms of when you want to go to live in the UK and Wales, and when your work contract might finish up, do definitely let us know that we would love to be able to potentially support you with work before you actually travel to the UK. Maybe it's on your way back too. So you might do 2 years working in Cardiff with Shannon and the crew in Wales, and then in a couple of years' time, maybe it's on the flip side back. We might be able to help, or maybe it's New Zealand too. So definitely stay connected with us throughout your entire journey. And ANZ UK was actually founded 16 years ago from our current and still present CEO and director in the UK, Ben Goldsmith, who were assisting educators from Australia moving to the UK. So it is a journey and experience we're really familiar with as a team and as a company. So we're excited to partner with everyone on your journeys ahead too. So, and we're very much a values-driven company as well. Like you could probably zoom in on Shannon behind her. You can see "Be Great" in the background there, which are our core values. And we're very much a company who embodies those values as well. Relationships and team are 2 of them. And we really work together as one team, and we really want to, develop relationships with everyone on the call so we can know your preferences, know what you want, and know how we can help you. So, we're excited to, work through all that on the webinar. Just a quick one, Shannon, before we throw to you. I did forget a poll. Apologies. We just wanted to know everyone's experience, or if you're a teacher or a teaching assistant. So if everyone could just post into the chat whether you're a teacher or a TA, and you can even post what type of teacher you are as well. If you're a maths teacher, or I think Cameron is a PE teacher from memory, and looking at the sporting outfit, potentially I could be right. Nice. So we've got a bit of a mix there, which is good. So no teaching assistant, which is fine. So that helps us when we're talking about opportunities. So we can probably focus in a bit more on classroom-based roles, which is great. But Shannon, give us an update. What's going on in Wales?
So obviously we are heading into the winter season. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of a winter in Wales, but sometimes you get snow and it's up to your knees, and then sometimes it's actually chucking it down and you can't see in front of you. So bring waterproofs and something warm. However, Growing up in Wales, it didn't bother me at all. You just carry on with your normal life. You can get around just as easy, get to the schools, traveling when you've got a day off, whatever you want to do. In Wales, it's the norm. It's the norm if it's raining. We always say nice day for the ducks, which is you just laugh about it because most of the time you're very happy when it's sunny. So whereas in Australia, you probably get a lot of sun. With regards to opportunities, we're always speaking to new schools all of the time. So we always have lots of long terms flooding in. A lot of the time though, prior to coming over here, we like to say, like, if you're comfortable with like a Zoom meeting, just like this, speaking to the schools, it does really help. And it's great to get to know you as a person, you get to know them. And then obviously then you'll hopefully be speaking to me quite a lot, if not one of the team in Wales. We're all just as bubbly as me, so so it's great. And then just obviously then it's Wales. I love living in Wales. It's opened a lot of opportunities for myself, lots of places to travel, so it's just great.
Yeah, awesome. And we'd love to know if everyone has been to the UK or Wales specifically before. So we will go to one more poll. We got a few more that will come just to make sure everyone's paid attention. We won't quiz anyone at the end, we promise. But we just wanted to know, has everyone been to the UK or Wales before? If the answer is yes for both, amazing. If you've been to maybe England but not Wales, and then that's absolutely fine as well. So if everyone's happy just to post into the chats, that'd be awesome. Where's Wales? No. Great. So amazing. Oh, Bianca, that's great to know. So
where was your father born? I'm intrigued.
He's born in Wales. Oh, well, not obviously born in Wales. What's wrong with? Sorry, it's been a long teaching. I'm like trying to cook dinner while doing this too. He's from Newport. Sorry, Newport. Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so I've actually just get my British passports on the way at the moment. So as far as he's able to
amazing.
How amazing.
Amazing. So have you been to Newport before?
I have been to Newport, yeah, when I was a little girl.
Oh, amazing.
Ages ago, but yeah, I'm excited to go back.
Oh, amazing. Great.
Yeah, how good's that? Well, yeah, definitely. We've got an office there, which is great. So, yeah, literally right in the thick of it, the office is. You probably couldn't get a better location in Newport than the office. It's literally right on the water, right near the new sort of market that's been developed there as well, which wouldn't have been there when you were there, Bianca. But it's changed a lot since I was even in Newport. I was lucky enough to go there in the summer just been. I shot over for a wedding. My partner and I, we had a wedding in England, and I was lucky enough to spend a day in the office with Shannon and the crew. So, yeah, it's a cool little spot in Newport. It's nestled beautifully between Bristol and Cardiff as well. So you got some good options there for the weekends to duck out, which is only a train ride away. So which is great. So, and I think Bianca, you recently spoke with Liv too. I think, and most people on this call were speaking to Liv at the moment, which is great. And I think my colleague Clint, or our colleague Clint, also reached out to you recently too.
Yes, he has. Yes, it's on my list of things to do is reply to him. It's just been a crazy, crazy, like it's weather in weather in Melbourne and the kids, and it's just been crazy. I'm
no, that's no stress. Well, Clint was actually meant to be on this webinar, but he had to have a meeting with an educator too, so he's unable to make it. But we'll make sure Shannon, as soon as he walks in, we'll let him know to expect some communication back from yourself, Bianca. So
yes, I'm getting there.
Yeah, legend. But so why teach in Wales and why move overseas as well? So obviously, there's a mirage of reasons, and everyone's going to have their own reasons too. Like maybe it's a career development, maybe it's personal experience, maybe you wanting to travel was a big motivating factor. So for me personally, looking at all of these points, they really resonated strongly with me. And stepping out of the comfort zone, especially Wales too. It's like it's not a typical experience for everyone going over to the UK. Like a lot of people would think UK, think London, think UK, maybe think Bristol, or not everyone historically would think I want to go to Wales, and that makes it really unique and really exciting too. So a lot of the educators, or all the educators we've supported with work over the past few years since we've had an office in Wales, have had nothing but amazing things to say about it. So it's definitely something which give it a go. It's a cool place to live, and you've still got all the options for travel. Cardiff and Bristol have international airports, so you can still get over to different parts of Europe. Shannon, you're going away in a week or in a couple of days.
Yeah. So on Sunday I'm going to Poland, and it's the airport is literally like 30 minutes from my house, and then I'm in Poland in no time. So it's like the direct flights to be able to travel around Europe is quick, efficient, and it just makes you want to travel more. Then you just get that travel bug.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think you meet a lot of people that are in the same boat too. And there's lots of stuff to do within Wales, and you meet a lot of people overseas. And the great thing living overseas, you've already got like a common ground with people who are abroad, because you've made a similar choice. You've taken a bit of a risk. You've moved over to the other part of the world that you may or may not have been to before. Like I know Trisha, you've not been to Wales. That's definitely a new experience for you. And even though it might not be career development is on the top of the list for the why, the UK curriculum as abroad, the Welsh and English curriculum does differ, but overseas international experience teaching in Wales is internationally regarded. So you'll be able to hold yourself in great stead for future employment down the line when you're looking at a role, maybe in future employment in somewhere else in the UK, or maybe it's back home in Australia in a couple of years' time. So getting a reference from a head teacher holds you in really, really good stead for future employment. So like I said, might not be the driving factor in why you've decided to make the journey over, but it definitely does add a lot of value to your CV, and you learn a lot too, like professional development. You go on, come on leaps and bounds when you're teaching underneath a completely new environment. The kids are different, the curriculum is different. All your skills are transferable, but you do learn a lot professionally when working over in the UK, and you make friends for life as well. Like we were at a wedding, my partner and I, in Devon, literally 3 months ago, from our friends who are English. So you do make friends, and they do stay your friends forever. So we'll just go through some of the steps. So a few people are actually progressing through these steps already, which is great. And I know we'll obviously hopefully make sure that all the other, I guess Zoe and Trisha, I'm not sure if you guys or gals have had a conversation yet with the team. I don't think so. I'm not 100% certain, but anyhow, Bianca, as an example, has had the initial contact with one of our team members, myself or Olivia, or maybe it could be Claire in New Zealand, but there's no Kiwis on the call. And then essentially what we do there is we talk about the move, run through what's involved, visa, a variety of different questions we'll ask. And then essentially when within 12 months of when you're intent to arrive in the UK, and we've got a CV back from yourself, we then put you in contact with the team in Wales, Shannon and the crew. And essentially what we then do is start developing that relationship with you, so we can learn what it is you're looking for, talk to you about where you can live, how to find accommodation, tips and tricks for getting set up for life in a new country. And that happens literally for maybe 9 months. We can do it 12 months in advance, or it might be a shorter window. You might be looking to move in a couple months. So it's all dependent on your preferences. Every journey is a little different. When we get within 2 months, our compliance team reach out, and the compliance team make sure you're all cleared to work, and we've got all we need from a police checks perspective. We'll send off your references, and then Shannon and the team will book you in for a virtual registration. And then the idea is that you're cleared to work the moment you touch down in the UK, whether it be at Heathrow or whether it be in Cardiff or Bristol, whatever airport you fly into. The idea is that you're cleared to go, so you don't have to worry about chasing up proof of address documents from your house in Queensland or in Melbourne, wherever it is. You can just focus on finding accommodation, go see some sightseeing, spend a weekend up in Snowdonia, whatever it is you want to do, and then eventually, whenever you're ready, out in the classroom. And we'll talk about the different work opportunities available throughout the webinar. So that's in a nutshell it. There's a lot more that goes into it behind the scenes, but those are the clear 6 steps that everyone hopefully will be able to follow. The term dates, Shannon, it's a bit different to England. So if anyone's seen these
Yes.
looking in the England term dates, it is slightly different. But do you just want to give everyone a bit of a scoop on the term dates?
Yeah, of course. So with Wales, on some of the months we're a week behind on England, just to due to the school time start this year. But it's just to give you a rough idea, like with February, they're highlighted in purple, so on and so forth for the other months. And it's just to kind of give you a general idea, like maybe when you want to go traveling or go see somewhere else, or just an idea of when you think you want to arrive, just so it gives us sort of kind of how long we think the turnover time will be. And then obviously then us speaking to schools. And then just sort of kind of like usually in half term, sometimes the schools then want to speak to the educators, which helps us a lot. So if you've got a copy of this, then it just helps us both reflect to be able to see the best time to make the plans for yourself and when you want to come over.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things to highlight as well, on top of like the half terms breaks, would be like this, when the year starts as well. So it goes from September and then finishes in July, which is very different to us here in Oz, where it's essentially end of Jan till December. So the academic year is structured so you get a break over the summer too. And the beauty of it is, as Shannon just mentioned, every 6 or so weeks you get a half term break within the 3 terms. So it's essentially you've got 3 main terms: the autumn, spring, and summer term, and then every 6 or 7 weeks you get a week off, which is really good. So I know us in Australia, there can be a bit of a slog sometimes, the terms, or if it's an 11-week term, or I think sometimes I feel like there's been a 12-week term thrown in the mix somewhere. You don't ever really have that in the UK or in Wales. You've always got a 6-week respite where you can book a flight to Poland. One of my favourite trips we done was a trip to Morocco for 10 days over the October half-term break. So those are the sort of things, and the novelty never really dies or gets old when you're in the UK and you're jumping on Skyscanner and you're clicking Cardiff or Bristol anywhere, and then you just pick the cheapest place or the place you've always wanted to go to. So we got one more poll. I think there might be a couple more. So, but we got another one here. So looking at the term dates, when is everyone wanting to go to the UK? Like, does everyone just want to post into the chat like a rough idea of the when? If that would be okay with everyone. Awesome. So if you're looking for a long-term role, we always recommend to be towards the start of the term, just so that can help in terms of getting you set up for a contract role. And then as Shannon mentioned, we can look to arrange that through a Skype interview before you get to the UK, or we can look at casual work before you get there. So so lined up already when you do arrive. So yes, a good mix there as well, which is good. Everyone next year, or between I guess March and May. I know Cameron's a little bit later on in the year too. So what we'll do now is we'll run through the visas, just so everyone is aware of that. And the visas are exactly the same for England as they are in Wales too. So essentially one of the most common visas is the Youth Mobility Scheme visa. So this is maybe, or I know Bianca, you're obviously on the passport most likely, and I know Cameron, I think you're on the skilled worker visa. So this will obviously, as Zoe and Trisha, you both may be on the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, I believe. If you maybe a post in the chat if you both know which one you're on. If not, I can talk through them all. Nice, I'll just run through them anyway. All good. So the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, it's the most common one. So Zoe and Trisha, if this is for you, the biggest key takeaway is that you can apply within 6 months of your intent to arrive within the UK. Takes within 3 to 10 weeks to process. Costs £1,200 thereabouts, and you need to have £2,500 in your bank accounts for 28 days when you apply for the visa. You can apply for it once. It's a one-off visa. So a little bit of a cliche. It's a once-in-a-lifetime visa, and you get full healthcare cover by the NHS for the 2 years that you're there. It is changing to from a 2-year to a 3-year working holiday visa, just as a fast fact, and that will take place most likely end of next year when there's been some changes to the Oz New Zealand governments with a free trade agreement in place. If anyone has a British grandparent, could be eligible for a British ancestry visa. That costs a bit more to apply, but you need to have a British grandparent to be able to apply for that one. And you can apply with that one at any age. There's no age barriers, and it does cost a bit more, but you get 5 years instead of 2. And it's a dependent visa, so you can come over with a partner or with a child or anything like that. The other one is the skilled worker visa. This one is a little bit trickier because it's not a working holiday visa in the sense that you aren't tied to a specific employer. So for this one, you need to be sponsored by a school in Wales that holds a sponsorship license. There can be challenges to this from overseas, just due to the nature of schools having to have a bit more of a, I guess there's more like red tape, if you would, and more costs involved for the school. And generally schools do look at the subject shortage specialists as priorities. Math, science, Mandarin is on there as well. And I think ICT actually should be in that list too. I know Cameron is a PE teacher. There aren't as many PE roles via sponsorship. However, it's not to say it's not unworkable. And I know that Shannon and Clint and the team we'll be really keen just to learn about obviously how we can support with your journey onwards to Wales, and just set, I guess, there's really realistic expectations around how we can assist there. There could be opportunities potentially the skilled worker visa maybe in England as well, to just to broaden the scope potentially for this one here. If you're loving it and you want to stay and you're on the youth mobility visa, you can get sponsored to stay when you're there as well. So that's a bit of a snapshot of the visas. Does anyone have any questions at all on the visa they wanted to either post into the chat, or feel free to ask at any point, and we can continue to move through?
I think having a look at the visas, they've changed from just being the skilled ones now to actually having primary and secondary as required. I've been trying to monitor it. It used to be maths, science, IT, and it seems to have now gone to just teaching.
Yes.
Am I right in saying that, or is that?
I would have to cross-reference that with an updated comms. We haven't had that being spoken about within our teams. However, that's just a shortage list. So you can still be sponsored as a primary or secondary teacher across the board through the skilled worker visa, but this is just a shortage list. So I'm not sure if primary teachers have been added onto that list. If that is true, I'll definitely hold my hand up and say that could be the case. But from my knowledge, it is just these subjects currently. So, but I'm making a note just to cross-reference that. But
yeah, I think I looked at it a couple of days ago, and on the UK government site, rather than just being specific, because it was specific for those other ones, it's now just got primary teacher, secondary teacher as listed on that site.
Okay, well, maybe after this, Cameron, like I know you're speaking with Olivia, we can have a look at that and just follow up on that one specifically. Yeah, definitely. If that's changed in the past couple of days, and that's that's it would be a game changer in terms of people moving over. But we just want to make sure we know exactly what that looks like, and we can unpack that further with you, off the call. So, but good to know there is some positive movement there. There's a huge demand at the moment for teachers in the UK and in Wales specifically. So we hope that the UK and Welsh governments can be, I guess, a bit more creative in the ways that they can attract new people through loosening visa visa restrictions, essentially. So we'll keep you posted on that one. So some educator stories as well. So feel free everyone to read through these. Unfortunately, the audio is not working, but Shannon was just going to chat a little bit about some of the educators who are currently working with us at the moment, who have recently arrived from, I know one from Australia. Madison, Shannon, you were going to have a bit of a mention about?
Yeah, so Madison joined us this academic year, and she's absolutely loved it so far. I literally think I hear off her every other day saying, like, what experiences she had in the school that day, how she's loved getting to know the curriculum, meet everybody's so welcoming, and she just thoroughly enjoys it. And obviously where she lives, she really enjoys, and just traveling to work. She said that it's just an easy thing, and she just loves it. And then we've had Canadians here before, and this is their second year being with us in Wales, and they still absolutely love it. They can't get enough of the Welsh schools over here. Always have something nice to say, always tell us stories about the kids in school. A lot of the students over here, they just get so excited when they're taught by somebody who's abroad, and they just want to ask them loads of stories about them. As soon as you start talking, they will start being like, oh wow, where are you from, and they will just bombard you with loads of questions. So it's great. Madison's definitely enjoyed it, even though it's their first year, and then the other guy's been here, this is the second year.
Yeah, definitely. And the great thing is with teaching in Wales too, just as Shannon mentioned, it's not as a common journey. So not as many people from Australia have moved over to Wales and taught before. So the students aren't familiar, whereas most of the schools in London or in England, they're like, oh yeah, another Aussie walking through the door. Like it's just part and parcel with what they're used to. But in Wales, it's great. Like the students are amazed that there's people from Australia and New Zealand teaching in their classroom. So unfortunately, the audio won't work on these videos, but I'm just going to post into the chat. So feel free to bookmark these. You can watch them in your own time. You can see Josh here, who's one of our Aussie teachers who spent I think it was about 18 months teaching in Wales. He actually moved over just before the pandemic, and you can actually see in the background there some of the Welsh language, which we'll talk about in a second. How it's obviously embedded within the Welsh curriculum, but you don't need to teach Welsh. So I've sort of answered the next question on the next slide. You don't need to speak Welsh, but it's definitely something which is just a celebrated part of living and breathing and being in Wales. So watch those videos in your own time. They're really good accounts of educators who are currently, who have previously lived and taught in Wales. So I jumped the gun there, Shannon. I'm so sorry for the FAQ. Apologies.
Okay.
As soon as I said it.
It's okay.
Yeah. So we've got some FAQs, which should probably be really helpful for everyone. I've already answered the first one, so
It's okay.
Yeah,
I can side note that.
Yes.
I'm speaking to overseas educators anyways.
Yeah.
A lot have asked if, like, if there's any sort of kind of like basic words they can learn and how to pronounce them and everything like that. So there is actually a link I can send. And they'll go through like basic morning, evening, general conversations, if obviously anybody wants to do that. And then it'll sort of kind of on a audio show you like how to pronounce it, because what you think you're reading is not in Welsh.
Yeah.
So that's always good. The difference between the Welsh and English curriculum is just like sort of how they grade their work in. So whereas like in Wales they still do A star to G, in England it's been brought in that they do it by numbers, with it'll be 9 to 1, with 9 being the highest. So it just like works backwards to answer that question. And they touch base over it anyways, speaking to other educators. They've said it's it's really easy to adapt to, and it's not actually that bad. And then with regards to obviously with the pay for teaching in Wales, so to live in Wales is a lot cheaper than it is in England. So with regards to that, it just reflects. And then being able to travel from Wales to Europe, easiest thing. I think that's one of the top things, is the easiness, because you can get a bus straight to Heathrow or to Bristol or even Cardiff, because Cardiff now have had a transformation. You can even travel to Japan from Cardiff now, which is great. And then for me, living in Wales compared to England, it's just, I love living in the rural places, whereas obviously England can be quite city. But I think it's, from my perception, and I can be a bit biased obviously living in Wales, is I think it just opens up a lot more opportunities for travel, bit of Welsh heritage, because Wales has a lot to offer, lots of backgrounds with all of our kings, queens, etc. It's not just the England side of it, lots of places to visit. So I can't sort of kind of say enough that Wales is the place to be.
Nice. And then we can talk about in the next slide as well. Thanks for going through that, Shannon, too, like where to live in Wales as well. So just a bit of an overview of obviously where our office locations are, where a lot of the work is on these slides here. So yeah, Shannon, do you want to chat a little bit about Newport and Cardiff?
Yeah, of course. So we have educators that will obviously live in Cardiff. Again, it's easy sort of kind of to find a place, like with regards to rent costs and day-to-day living. There's not much difference between living in Cardiff than it is to Newport. Cardiff can be just that little bit more expensive, but not by much, to be honest. But if you decide to come and live in Newport, the railway it'll take you straight to wherever you need to be. It's literally Newport on the train is 8 to 10 minutes. It's not that much difference. And then you'll be able to sort of kind of like travel around easier that way, if you would rather live in Newport. Cardiff is the city, is the capital, so it is a little bit more lively. So if you would rather live in a place where you can sort of like pop out afterwards, but Newport has that to offer as well. And then it's I guess it's just a case of like, if you want to live in a flat or a bedroom share or anything like that, that would just be sort of kind of the only difference between living in Newport and Cardiff.
Yeah, and we'll touch on it in a couple of slides, like how to find accommodations and tips around that. But if we were to have a slide up on our Teach in the UK webinar and talk about London, the rent prices are over double. In some places of London, even triple. So you definitely get a lot more bang for your buck when you're living in Wales. So definitely, if you're wanting to, you still earn a very competitive wage. It is a little bit less than what you would earn in London in a full-time role, but the cost of living allowance it caters for that, in the sense that you get paid more because it's a lot more expensive to live there. Still an amazing place, but if you're wanting to spend a lot less on rent and still have a very competitive teaching wage, then obviously Wales is a great place to be. the opportunities, as we mentioned, there, predominantly in that southern belt there, in the valleys, Newport and Cardiff. However, we are expanding relationships out with schools across all of Wales. So I know Swansea and regional Wales is areas where we're looking to expand out. So yeah, Shannon, you could just maybe talk a little bit about Swansea and regional UK too, regional Wales, sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So with Swansea, again, it's sort of kind of, it's the cheap place to live, with rent and day-to-day living. It's right by the seaside, which is great. It's lovely to go to Swansea. Again, lively town, lots to do, lots of castles, ruins, if you obviously want to do that on your day off. And it just sort of kind of, you can see by the map by there, it goes all along the coast for West Wales. It's beautiful there. It's like a different sea. That's the way to describe it. And then sort of kind of like, obviously, like Tyler said, going out into sort of kind of the regionals, so like your Brecon Beacons and everything like that. Again, it's a beautiful place to live. It's a lot cheaper for living costs and day to day. Pretty much similar though to Swansea, a little bit further out, but again, easy to get around, travel on the train, so it's okay.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about like getting a car and those sort of points too. But yeah, definitely some good location options there. Everyone just want to post into the chat. I do think we've got one more poll after this, I promise. I'm always joking about these polls, but there's a couple more coming. I think this is the second last one. Where is everyone looking to live in Wales? So obviously we've given a couple different locations. I know Bianca, obviously Newport, which is great. So I know Cameron just messaged to, I think it's only coming through to my or our chat. Cameron's looking to go to Swansea and open to suggestions, which is good. Trisha, and then Zoe, feel free to come in at any point. But yeah, so what you do on the weekends or in the afternoons, depending on where you live. So there's some beautiful photos here. I personally would pick. Well, I should say pick my time when I was in Wales. I spent about 5 or 6 days in Snowdonia and absolutely loved it. It's very, when I was there, it was in the middle of winter, very, very cold place, but beautiful national parks, amazing places to walk, and you can really like just feel like you like almost on another planet, the beauty that you get there. So definitely my pick was Snowdonia, but I know Shannon, you probably had a bit more time down here in some of the other places. So what would be your highlights in terms of some Welsh trips?
I'd probably say the Brecon Beacons, because I did do a peaks challenge with that one along with Penny Van. They do like a 3 peaks challenge over here. So that was definitely probably a highlight for me for Brecon. Just as soon as you get to the top, just like the scenery is breathtaking, and it's just one of those moments that you want to take in. So it's great. I have been to the Gower, and I have also been to Cardigan Bay, which again it's a nice day out. It's right along the coast. Lots to do, lots to see. It is literally like a day trip. You could spend the day there, which is great. And it's literally like to get to Brecon Beacons is like literally just like an hour. All of those places an hour. If you want to drive, if not on the train, it's not even that much different to traveling. But it's great. There's loads of other places to be able to see sort of kind of around that area. So if you obviously want any ideas or any tips of best places to go, I got no problem offering any.
Yeah, and who would have thought that Wales has beautiful beaches too? So that Goa along the south coast, it's yeah, definitely very picturesque. A bit like a rural Australian feel to it. That looks like maybe like a surf coast down in Victoria sort of vibe. So awesome. So we'll keep moving through. We've got about 20 minutes to go, everyone. So we'll finish up Vic time or Australian Eastern Standard Time at about 7 p.m. So we'll make sure everyone wraps up. And I know Bianca's already eating dinner, so we'll ensure everyone else make sure they got plenty of time to get off and cook up a storm. So in terms of the types of work, so how the UK as a whole is structured is into different key stages, ranging from early years all the way up into key stage 5 in secondary school. So if you're looking at, you're an early years teacher, that's ages 3, 4, and then sort of touches like the 4 to 5, and that's in nursery and reception. Primary school is key stage 1 and 2. So key stage 1 is lower, years 1 and 2. key stage 2, 3 to 6. And then secondary school is broken into the different key stages from 3, 4, and 5. The very might not be familiar, a lot of these key stages, which is totally fine. There's lots and lots of differences in terms of acronyms and structures, but fundamentally, it's just something to become present with how the UK structure up their key stages. So, and then within that, there's subject specialism and leadership roles available too. So the biggest thing is just thinking about what sort of work would you really enjoy? What sort of work would you really want to do when you're in the UK? And the types of schools to the right. So we work with schools across the broad spectrum of what's available in Wales. So whether that be academies, whether it be mainstream state schools, private schools, co-ed, single-sex faith schools, we do work with a wide variety of schools. And there's also lots and lots of opportunities in special educational needs schools, and then also in pupil referral units as well. The pupil referral units cater for students with challenging behavioural difficulties that have most likely been excluded from mainstream settings. So I personally taught at a Peru school for about 9 months of my time in the UK. Absolutely loved it. Challenging work, but really rewarding work as well. So definitely recommend to give it a go. And when you're over there, maybe doing casual work, it could be a good pathway to try out those different opportunities. No one is a TA on the call, which is fine. But if you have any friends in your network, any colleagues or anything like that, there's lots and lots of teaching assistant work available in Wales. We work with some really great schools that can support staff. So definitely, let the team know if you know anyone who's moving over, who's not a teacher, who might just want to get support in educational support staff roles. So the types of work options available. So just moving through. So essentially, you could be looking at 3 different types of options, and we can cater for all 3. It just depends on what your preferences are. So have a think about what sort of work, like I said, you'd really enjoy, and then what sort of work would suit your preferences when you touch down in the UK. So you can start off doing day-to-day, and we can guarantee supply work as an ANZ UK ambassador teacher, but that would be when you're doing day-to-day, and we've got an app which is really good. You log all your availability on a Friday and a Monday off if you wanted to go on a long weekend to Paris or shoot off to Poland or whatever it is you're doing, Germany, and you get to see different schools, build relationships, network out, and it very often will lead into a contract role, but it's great for that flexibility piece. If you do want a contract, we can support with that potentially before you arrive as well, but usually it obviously can be after you've arrived too. So just let Shannon and the team know if you want something before you get there, and that's what we'll work really hard to try and support with a Welsh school and an interview before you get there. The benefits, pay increases, you are highly likely get paid on the main pay scale. You become as part of the school community, and then obviously career development, etc. Some great pieces there. And the other point is a permanent contract. So the long term would be employed still through ANZ UK on an ongoing fixed term contract. A perm contract would be, if you like, on the skilled worker visa as an example, or you're employed directly through the school. So we still want you to be a part of the ANZ UK community, but you'd essentially be working in a direct contract at the school. So let our team know what you're looking for, and we'll be able to support in any one of those different work types. Looking at the relocation bonuses as well. So we have 2 on offer. So if you want to sign on to the ambassador agreement, which is the guaranteed work scheme, after you've worked 60 days within that ambassador program, you're eligible for up to £250 off your flights. And if it's a long-term role that you're looking for, it's up to £500 off your flights as well. So that usually covers your one-way ticket over the long-term contract. And they're both tax-free too. So you'd essentially, if it's a long-term role, if you arrived, maybe September next year, generally, hopefully after Christmas, that would get paid out around about January, February time. Money might not be a driving factor why everyone's moving over, but it does help knowing we can support and assist with the relocation aspect of it too. So a big question for everyone, this one here. So where to live, how do I find accommodation? Obviously is really important. So Shannon, do you just want to give a bit of an overview of how people can find accommodation when they get to the UK and what experiences people have been having recently?
Yeah, so a couple of people I've been speaking to overseas, some have decided the best thing for them to do is book an Airbnb for the first month, just so they can travel around, see how it is for connections with trains, and then obviously where they feel most comfortable to live. Some have also been going on share room online, and they've been looking that way, which I usually say to people to try and kind of do as early as possible. Just because I do find that they can get nabbed up quite quick. So it's just a case of that, just being as prepared as possible. And then sometimes, like on the Facebook groups, if you go on there, I know that a lot of the Canadians that came prior, they were all speaking to each other on there, so they were able to then find accommodation a bit quicker, because they were all willing to sort of kind of do one thing together. So that's just another option for yourself. And then just to say that most shared living is already furnished. So it might just be a case of then you just sort of kind of move in, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. And I just posted into the chat to the ANZ UK group bound educators. So if anyone isn't in that group, feel free to jump into it. And essentially that's just like a social networking platform that we have for people such as the Canadian crew to meet other people who are journeying onwards to the UK. And this area guide here, I've just posted into the chat too. It gives you tips on where to live, pardon me, in the certain areas within Wales as well. So it touches on London, Surrey and Bristol, but there's a section in there in the guides within Wales too. So ask our team, Shannon and the crew, they're unbelievably helpful. I know there's even been times where they've gone to view accommodation for educators too. So that might be on offer. But yeah, definitely just ask the team for questions and they'll be happy to help as well. So how do people get around, Shannon? Like, what's the best bet for someone who's just arrived and they don't have a car? Or should they get a car? What should we recommend for people to do?
Sort of kind of like mixed within the educators that have come from overseas. So, for example, the Canadians who came last year, this year they've still to go by public transport. So that might be bus or by train. And then sometimes with some of the placements, some have been that close they've been able to walk. But on the flip side, then Madison, who started the academic year with us this year, she knew straight away before she was even coming over, she was going to get a car. And she said, to be honest, it was the best thing that she did because it opened up her platform, easier for her to get from place to place. So that's just sort of kind of the two different perspectives from educators. Some educators now, like with like one or two of the Canadians, they've said, oh, maybe we should all like sort of kind of chip in together and get a car so then we can car share, so it just helps with that cost of living. So just kind of like mixed, but it's just sort of kind of whatever you feel is best for yourself of getting around. And it's something we can discuss later on, if wherever you live in, the best way to get to schools, etc. And we can just sort of kind of have that little chat.
Yeah, and having a car actually, like if you're going to live in like London as an example, would recommend not to get a car. But even in Cardiff or Newport, like it actually opens the door up to like travel that you might not be. You could rent a car as well. You can get the train and that there. But if you do have the finances available, cars are cheap too. Like actually, like being Australian moving to the UK, you actually like freak out a little bit how cheap the cars are. That they're all still very roadworthy cars, but it costs nowhere near as much it does for a car in Australia. So definitely maybe budget a couple £1,000 for a car and you'd get a very decent one as well. So just ask the team about some tips on that and they'll be happy to help. So
yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So just in terms of moving through, I'm just going to post a blog about setting up your funds. So obviously it's important to think, how am I going to access my Australian funds when I'm in the UK? When I've rocked up to Cardiff, you're walking into a castle, you want to go check it out. How do you actually pay for it? So making sure you've got your overseas funds organized. And we recommend to get an ING or a Citibank card before you go to the UK, so you can access your funds whilst you're overseas, whilst you're traveling. Obviously, once you get to the UK, you're going to need to get a UK bank account. There's a couple that we recommend, HSB and Monzo being two. There's also another one called Revolut, all within this blog, which I posted in the chat. But you do the bank account when you get to the UK. So don't try and open it before you get there, because you can get blocked from Monzo. So make sure you wait till you're there and we'll pay you into UK bank account. But your Australian funds, use with the ING or the Citibank as an example. So again, lots of resources. We've got an amazing info pack that unpacks all of this in lots and lots of detail. Yeah. So definitely just make sure that you're asking the team and we can share the info pack as a part of the follow-up, which I know Cameron and Bianca, you probably already received it. So in terms of setting up when you're there, getting a mobile phone is really cheap in the UK. Literally it would cost you a tenner or 25 quid. The biggest thing to recommend to do is make sure your plan has like what some of them are called like a feel at home when you go to Europe. So that way, when you book a trip and you land in Greece or you're going to Spain for a week, you don't need to get a new SIM card. It just works when you land. So make sure you do that when you get there. And with one that we recommend, Gift Gap, you can actually order these before you even go to the UK, or you can wait till you get there. Another important thing when you touch down is national insurance. So national insurance, essentially, think national insurance, think tax file number. It's the same thing pretty much. But when you get to the UK, you have to sign up for it as well. So lots of info, which we're throwing at you. And I know it's a bit quick fire as we tie towards the end of the webinar, but just remember when you get to the UK to apply for this once you get there. And the Emily on the Wales compliance team will be able to assist you with how to do that, and the rest of the team too. But we'll give you resources to assist with this one. I'm just moving through quickly on these last couple slides. Shannon, so apologies, I am not throwing to you as much, but I just...
It's absolutely fine. You talk.
A little bit tight on time. I know there's a couple more which you can cover. So we spoke about the community event. So the idea for us, if possible, is that you meet our team and other educators before you go to the UK. If you can make it to a pre-departure event, we know that's not possible for everyone because we don't have office locations everywhere. But if you can come meet people before you go to the UK, it's a great way to get to know people who are doing the exact same thing you are, and they're probably traveling solo themselves. The Facebook group helps facilitate it if you're not able to come into the events. So post into the chat, post onto the page, like, comment. No one will bite, or at least we don't think they will. And you can definitely meet people from this group as well. We've had so many people that have made friends, roommates, travel partners, even partners that have met within these groups. So definitely get around them. If that doesn't work for you, whatever reason, make sure you come into the office, make sure you come to a local event. We generally do our big class of events where we have January, April, and September. We usually do them in London. So if you want to have a good excuse to get to London, go over for the weekend, meet people that have come to our London office, but we will do local events in Newport and Cardiff as well. So, but definitely make sure for the big class of events that we host, they'll usually be in London. Book a train, go there for the weekend. It's a really good excuse to get into the big city, and then make sure you go back to Wales and spend all your time there. If you're looking to meet people, sports clubs are amazing places to do that. Shannon, you want to speak a little bit about some of the sporting clubs that we've got?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so in Wales, it's well known for rugby. So there's a local team called the Gwent Dragons. And it's literally like their pitch is just up the road, and it's a really good atmosphere, good to meet people, everyone's really friendly. And then obviously there's a cricket club which is in Cardiff. So obviously if you are in Newport and you want to go to Cardiff or vice versa, then those are two good places that you can meet new people.
Yeah, definitely. And they're a good way. So obviously just get bringing yourself into like a community feel as well. So obviously you'll have opportunities to meet people at the ANZUK events at your school, but these sporting clubs are really good opportunities as well. So we'll keep moving through. Travel. I know everyone's probably thinking, I can't wait to get to the UK. I can't wait to book a flight to go somewhere. So definitely make sure you have a look at these travel affiliates when you're booking your trips. Travel Talk in particular, they do amazing trips to Morocco and amazing trips to Egypt. So if you're really keen to jump over to North Africa, Travel Talk's a really cool company that offer really good tours. These other ones, a bit more well-known, Top Deck, Bus About. So yeah, just make sure you drop a line to the team, and there are some promo codes that you can look at there. In terms of some of the important things, obviously we know that you obviously might be aware that you'll need to have a few compliance requirements to work over in the UK. So this is just an overview of that. So we'll share all this with you post the webinar, and everyone will get a slide pack from this too, so you can reference back to it. But essentially we'll need to get an up-to-date CV and a photo from yourself. And then we'll just need to make sure that we've got 2 years of employment history from a reference perspective. Those are the big things that we need to get from yourself. And we give you tips and resources on how to write a CV. We have CV template that you can use, but we really want to provide feedback. So that way, when we're presenting your CV to schools, that it's structured in a way that's going to really help promote job opportunities for yourself. So that's a part of the service that we offer, is giving support and guidance on your CV too. So make sure you ask questions to the team about how you can improve it or tweak it, and we'll be happy to give that feedback. You'll need police checks to work in the UK. Everyone will need an Australian and the UK police check. Costs about $150 total, and we assist you with the application of those checks as well. And we do those about 2 months before you start working in the UK. So no one will have to worry about these just yet. We do that next year for everyone on the call. Everyone's a teacher, so we'll need to cite your qualification via eQuals, really easy to do. And that can something we can just do all online as well. Before you get to the UK, everyone may or may not have heard of safeguarding. Safeguarding is essentially mandatory reporting. It's the same language. It's the same thing, but just a different terminology. And essentially we provide safeguarding training, and you need to do a safeguarding course before you go and work in the UK. So this one here is something which was trying to spend a minute or two on, even though we're a bit tight for time. Essentially, to work in the UK, you can apply for your EWC, which is essentially the equivalent of like a QTS, a qualified teacher status, if you've got your full teaching registration in Australia. If you're not fully registered and you're a graduate teacher, you can still work in Wales. However, you can't teach as you would as an overseas trained teacher, as you do in England. In Wales, you would need to teach as what's called an instructor, which is slightly different. So it is a little complicated. England and Wales differ here, but in essence, you can still work as a teacher, but you'll just be technically an instructor if you're provisionally registered. But if you're fully qualified, you can apply for a full registration in the UK and in Wales specifically, and we can assist you with the application for that as well and just talk you through it. But it's a relatively straightforward process. And finally, on this slide, we all need to do a virtual registration, and that will be something which you've already touched on, but we do that before you get to the UK. And then we still want you to come into the office and meet the team as well. So come into the Newport office. You can see it's getting pretty lively in there at the moment, Shannon. There's a heap of the guys and the girls are getting around, which is great. Is the Bristol team in there today? Is that
Yeah, turn around and wave.
Oh, nice.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, got the Bristol team all here today.
Yeah, perfect. I thought I noticed that was Annika. Then I definitely recognised the Kia. So, amazing. So, Bristol and Wales obviously work really closely together. So, you can even work a day in Bristol if you wanted to, or do some casual work in Bristol if you're really keen. So, so just travel requirements. This slide has changed so much since in my past couple of years doing webinars. I'm moving to the UK and moving overseas. So practically the vast majority of all travel requirements are gone. So you don't need a test before you go. We just recommend that you're fully vaccinated, even though it's not a mandate in the UK. The biggest thing we can recommend is booking a flexi ticket with your flights. So that way, if you did need to change your flights for whatever reason, you can do that. Make sure you've got travel insurance booked. Big tick. Make sure you book it for your trip over. And when you're in the UK, you're covered fully by the NHS. So you don't need to get private health insurance. But when you go to Europe, you need to book health travel insurance for your travels. So in the UK, you're covered by the NHS. In Europe, you need to book travel insurance. So just make sure everyone remembers that distinction. And we're pretty much at the end of the webinar. We're finishing on time here, Shannon, which is great. So we'll probably have a minute or two for questions at the end, stay as long as we need. But hopefully, Shannon and I have done a great job of talking about, I guess, the beautiful things about working in the UK, in Wales specifically, and some of the I guess, the really meaningful moments everyone will have when you're there. If you're still thinking, why would I go to Wales with ANZ UK? Here's some final points. So we've got lots of resources on our blog page. Oodles of resources you can look at. We've got an online professional development platform called a learning management system, Exceptional Talent. So you can do online PD before you get to the UK to upskill yourself on what it's like teaching in Wales and in England. You've got a Facebook group, which we've spoken about, Brickbound Educators. Make sure you join that if you haven't already. We've got a really comprehensive information pack, which outlines everything we've covered in this webinar, but goes into a bit more detail and gives you more links to click out to. We're huge on the events, as I've mentioned. We host regular events before you go and when you get there. We offer that 360 support. So the great thing is with ANZ UK in the sense that obviously you'll have our team here in Oz, but also a team in Wales. So you literally have 24/7 support. If you've got a question which you wanted to get answered straight away, you can ping it to us or the team in Wales. We're a community-driven agency as well. So we want to make sure you're getting amongst the events, meeting people, meeting our team. And like I said, local and global opportunities with ANZ UK. So before you go and when you get back. We powered through those past couple of slides, but we're pretty much at the back end here, team. So do we have any questions that we wanted to throw to? Feel free to ask any at all, and we'll be happy to stay on for a few minutes to answer any that we've got.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I have a question. With because I'm a provisionally registered teacher here in Australia at the moment. And you're recognised as an instructor in Wales. Is there a difference in pay?
Yeah, so when you're doing supply teaching, you'll be paid on the same pay scale. So from top of my head, it's £141 a day for doing supply teaching is highly likely. Clinton, Shannon, the team will be able to confirm that day rate with you. When you're looking at longer term opportunities, that's when it goes to the school's discretion, how they would recognise you when they are looking to pay you in a longer term contract role. So that will be on consultation with Shannon and the team for that specific longer term opportunity, what that would look like. But you could benchmark for yourself that £140 a day would be what you would earn on any casual day of work. And then, longer term, there's that consultation with Shannon and the team for an increase in that daily rate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, good.
So with the skilled workers visa, am I better off just approaching schools direct, or is that something you can help me with as well, looking more for permanent work?
Yeah, great question there, Cameron. So by all means, like if you were looking independently, like on the TES as an example, like you could definitely approach schools independently. I know a lot of schools with the skilled worker visa generally would be happy to like still go through an agency to help facilitate with the process, just because it does help with the paperwork and us giving support with the relocation of the educator. But if you're looking to partner with us for that, then obviously some schools may not necessarily be posting jobs online as well. So some schools will engage directly with an agency or such as ANZUK UK, just because obviously they know that we support teachers who are moving from abroad. So they might not actually post their job ads up. They might come to us directly. So yeah, you could definitely look online. You may get lucky there for sure. Not to discourage that those searches. But definitely with us, like I said, there'll be schools that wouldn't be putting their jobs up that would come directly to us, and that would hopefully be an avenue for you to be able to get roles locked in when you arrive in Wales.
Yeah, because I've just got my QTS, so that's all come through.
Perfect. Yeah.
So yeah, but that's where I'm looking is more permanent work.
Yep.
That's fine. And if it's something you wanted to like set up a conversation besides, then we can discuss that. That's no problem. I can speak to schools on your behalf, anyways.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a part of the service that we offer is, speaking to schools to try and see what their needs are and understanding what your preferences are too. So I know Olivia, I think, has sent a follow-up email to yourself, Cameron, and I think what we'd look to do is, have you have a touch point with Shannon and the team, definitely. I know that they'd love to understand like how we can support and what the opportunities could look like for yourself, definitely.
And a really left field question. I've got both sleeves, tattoos on both sleeves. So I've got full sleeves. Is that going to be an issue with schools?
Well, Shannon and I both have tattoos on our arms as well. So
I've got a full sleeve. So it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So some faith schools may request you to cover it up completely. But I think schools, the more state schools are obviously a lot more progressive now in the sense. But I personally always just wore a long sleeve shirt when I was teaching, even when I was doing PE. So, but the schools that I taught at, there wasn't a no tattoo policy. But yeah, like I said, some faith schools may have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great question though. Definitely something I was thinking when I was going over Cameron too, having a tattoo myself. So amazing. So you can still ask some questions as well. And I'm posting into the chat too a link to my calendar invite and then also my colleague Olivia's. I know Cameron and Bianca have already spoke to Olivia, but if you're living New South Wales actually, so Zoe and Trisha might actually be myself that you speak with. So you can jump into that calendar invite and book a call in with me whenever. We will share the follow-up a follow-up email outlining the slide pack and then sending the links to the calendar again. But and we'd love to tee up a call. So essentially what we look to do is have that intro call and get you in contact then with the team in Wales just to get that ball rolling essentially. So amazing to chat with everyone. If there's any questions that come late, I'm happy to pause for a couple of minutes, but a big thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed spending time with everyone on this webinar. It's nice, a smaller group, so it's good to have, I guess, a more intimate feel. And really excited to support on your journey ahead. As I said at the start of the webinar, moving overseas was one of the best decisions I personally ever made, and really passionate about helping educators who want to make that same journey over, because I just know that the excitement and the fulfillment that you get from when you do touch down and you do start living and teaching in a new country. So yeah, Shannon and I and the team, we can't wait to help you out with your plans and your endeavors. So yeah, send any follow-up questions and emails when they come in, book a call, and anyone you know in your network, we're happy to help out and support with their journey and travels too. So yeah, thank you, Shannon, as well for joining in. I know it's nice and early in Wales. It's definitely
Oh, that's okay. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, perfect. Cool.
Just
so
something,
yeah.
something for you guys to just be aware about.
Yep.
So in Queensland, Australian Eastern Standard Time, it's 5 p.m.
Yes.
New South Wales, Victoria is daylight saving, so it's 6 p.m.
Yes.
So when you put AEST, you might have had some who may have looked at it at 6 o'clock being now as a start point, not 5.
Yes, that's a really good point. We haven't had anyone join, luckily. So I'm hoping that people didn't pick me up and think that was that you're right, but hopefully people did join it. So that's actually good because the daylight savings changed a week ago. And in the UK, daylight savings changes on Sunday again. So I've constantly been looking up on the website that we use, World and Time Planner, trying to figure out what time we book meetings in for. But Cameron, thank you for that. That's something I've learned something today, which is good. So amazing. I'm glad you joined it. You probably must have read and gone, Tyler and the crew at ANZUK Education must be wrong here. I'm going to log in at 5 p.m. Queensland time.
I just took a risk because I figured you were Melbourne based or
guys. Well, I'm glad that no one's joined now. That means that hopefully people have just joined the time which we wanted them to. So appreciate the feedback there, Cameron.
No worries.
Cool. Well, we'll get the follow-up over to you. If not tomorrow, we'll try and put this into a webinar recording online. So if you don't get the follow-up tomorrow, we'll get it over to you by Friday. But yeah, enjoy. Can't wait to chat with you all. Thanks again for joining in.